The magazine was an issue because all right, so now have our children, right? Our children in the future, should they be in a similar situation? It's like, all right, that's fine. You started this, let's just say magazine for now, or this blog, let's just say internet, this fucking website. You started this website, is really small now, and that's fine. They're going to purchase it, but like, you should have equity in the sense that if this grows, this blog that you are just starting as like in its first year, your equity should grow with that and proportionate to the amount of business it is for the entire revenue it brings into the entire business. Like, those are things that in retrospect, we know, like we lived that, like, you know, like we bought a magazine that was nothing and it ended up being 30% of our, you know, our entire annual revenue.
Yeah.
That's substantial, you know, like these are all things that we can point out. And you need golden parachutes. You need, like, if you're fired, fine. You want to fire me for whatever reason, that's fine. That's your discretion. But then I get 6 years salary plus stock options plus blah blah blah. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of things that now I learned at the hard way that, you know, you can demand that.
Right. Yeah. Well, your experience and our experience, I think, hopefully serves others who are listening to this now and starting their own businesses, and the value of, you know, building a strong brand and maintaining ownership, maintaining control, maintaining, you know, leadership within it, which
and protecting yourself when upper management feels they want to go in a certain direction and they feel that they don't, you're dispensable. It's like, that's fine, but then I will be compensated as such should you decide that. You know, like, listen, all those $1 million Fortune 500 fucking CEOs that get those golden parachutes, you negotiate that. That's because they have really smart lawyers that want money, that want a bigger commission. You know, the more money their client gets, the more money they can charge, you know, so.
Yeah, precisely. So, I mean, we're now how many years removed? 15 years removed from that date, from that moment, you know,
15
like
more, bro. 20.
No, 06. That's 15 years ago. So it's just, it's
feels like 30, 40 years ago.
I know, honestly. Right? It does. It definitely does. But
it feels more than 15. That's crazy. 15.
Yeah, but we'll protect our kids now knowing, like, from those experiences, and hopefully from this video, which they'll have access to in the future. You know, hopefully they'll listen back, be like, "Yo, listen to our episode on 2006. That's the good one to
episode 30.
Episode 30. This is what you need. This is the golden parachute episode." So yeah, I mean, it was unfortunate losing you on the team. You know, you were my best friend at the time. And, you know, still a very, very close friend of mine, regardless. And, you know, not having you there for the events was weird. It was, you know, there was no one that I could turn to and be silly with about historical things that we experienced together, you know, like, so it was definitely a new era. And I mean, I knew my time there was not going to be long, because I had also started my MBA and I was going to graduate. And I knew at that moment, and as we fast forward, I had started to build relationships with some of our paying clients. So the Richard Rugnows of the world, who we should have on for a future episode as well. But yeah, so there were certain people that started to believe in myself as like one of the key innovators here. And then obviously, Anthony, you had met Richard before you left LatCom. Yeah.
No, yeah. I didn't deal with him directly at the beginning. I think wasn't Frank his contact person, or
that's right. Frank was the first. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, he started with like advertising in the magazine.
Yep. That's
right.
Correct.
Like he did like something really small in the magazine, and then that kind of grew
to the events. Yep.
Right, which is a really smart way of reeling in a client. You know, you do something really small.
Yeah.
They like it, you know, and then build the business that way.
I'd like to think that, and maybe Richard will confirm this when we eventually have him on a conversation, but I'd like to think that he became an entrepreneur because he saw us, you know, like, because he was always a corporate dude, you know, up until even when we started our next enterprise, Richard was still at Yum Brands, which was KFC, Taco Bell. And I like to believe that him seeing what we were doing, realizing that we were younger than him, taking ownership of our careers and staking ourselves out, like we gave up, we worked together, and this isn't a future episode, but we started another company. We both started from zero, salary, if you will, year one. And fortunately, we had Richard who helped us, create more events through us. But I feel like now, I never thought about it this way, but I wonder if we had any influence on his eventual entrepreneurship route.
Yeah, that'd be a great question to pose to him, and I guess we should have him on when we discuss Greekster.
Yeah,
like the launching of Greekster.
yeah,
Because he was always a very big advocate for us and a fan, and he was a cheerleader for us, basically.
yeah. And he knows all the players too. So he knows Frank, he knows Dave, he knows Anthony, he knows myself. He'd have a very unique perspective on all of this because he saw the falling out. He saw it all happening. And I remember, right. I remember actually on one of the first calls after you left, Anthony, Richard, after talking to Dave and myself, asked me to stay on afterwards, and he was waiting for Dave to leave the room. And when Richard and I spoke, I don't know if Dave left the room and jumped on the other line to listen. Remember, we could kind of press the other line to listen in on other people's calls. So I wonder if Dave was listening in, but Richard basically said, look, if you leave LACOM, I'm not spending any more money with them. And
why so what? Yeah, talk about your relationship with him that would prompt him to say that.
Because him knowing the entire team, he knew Frank was Frank, the Latin rock guy, the numbers guy. He knew Frank wasn't the college guy. He knew Dave clearly wasn't the college guy. Dave was, the sales guy selling this thing to agencies. He knew that we were kind of like the Latinos who were steering the ship when it came to college. So like whether it was a magazine, whether it was the events, he knew that we brought it there. So I forget how he understood us to be the introducers.
No, right.
But somehow he knew that we were like the heart, if you will, of the properties. And I suspect that when he heard that you weren't part of the team anymore, he was a bit kind of like, wait a minute, wasn't Anthony instrumental in building these things? And how do you just let him go? And he's a brown face, forgive the French, and Richard didn't understand it. And then why would Jesus stay on? Like that was even, I think, another confusing piece to him, because he knew that we were very tight. So yeah, there were a lot of dynamics that I think only Richard can answer that, I don't know.
Yeah, Richard goes on to be our anchor client after when we launched Greekster. He was really the only legitimate client we had or were able to get, unfortunately. But this is for a future episode, obviously, but I have very fond memories of Greekster. We didn't make money, but some of my fondest memories, I mean, there's nothing, let me tell you, man, there's nothing. I guess if you have to be built to be like to want to like entrepreneurship, but there's nothing like having your own, like we really had our own office. It was legitimately our business. There's nothing like it if that's what you're built for. My only regret with Greekster and Yammer Group is that I could have tried to sell a little harder, and I could have tried harder on the sales side. Because I mean that the selling is the bread and butter. If you can't sell, then your business isn't going to last. And ours obviously we had to get quote unquote real jobs, but for a future episode. But yeah, that's one of my regrets of not pushing myself further, forcing myself to like get on the phone. I'm just not built like that for that.
Yeah, and that'll be a Greekster. I think that it's interesting. So as you think back to the memories, and I know we're kind of getting ahead with Greekster, but LACOM is still in the kind of like, this is the tail end of your LACOM. I guess looking back now, which experience, if you could compare, I mean, I know it's hard to compare children, but like
Right.
the Greekster project versus the Latino Step project, like which one do you feel more affinity or passion?
I think Greeks. Well, are you talking Latino Step post acquisition or
All of it, all of Latino
uh
Step versus all of
yeah.
Greekster. And it's okay if you don't have an answer. I'm just curious.
No, Greekster was what, 2 years? 3 years? How many years did we do Greekster for? Three?
Yeah, we started in 08, and then we pretty much had to fold up in like 09. It was a year and a half, 18 months, 24 months maybe. I don't know.
I
I
thought
mean,
it
Greekster
wasn't 2 years.
it kept going. It did keep going, but it wasn't like all of us were together anymore in the same office space,
No.
you know. But yeah, I guess it was less time, right? There's only
I have, well, again, I have very fond memories of Greekster, and I think it's different because I felt like we were legitimately on our own, like 100%.
yeah.
We weren't, but it was elevated because we actually had an office. We had an internal graphic designer. We had your brother doing programming. Like it was more official.
Hmm.
But no, I remember those times, and I remember what it felt like, and it's very invigorating to like be out there. It's exciting, but also like nerve wracking to like you have to eat what you kill, or you know what I'm saying, like go out there hunting and like and like that like not knowing, and the like the high, there were a lot of highs and lows, like the highs of pitching. I remember we were preparing a deck for this is when like reggaeton was really hot, and you had a connection with Wheezy and Yandel to pitch like marketing for like I think Remy Martin was
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that. Yep.
Remy Martin was looking for like a marketing team because they were gonna, and we had pitched that. And I remember when the NYPD had their art put out that RFP, that was like our last Hail Mary, because if we would have landed that, we would have stayed in business for a few years.
Yeah.
And I remember spending the night, breaking night with Alan or someone, getting the RFP together. It wasn't you, right?
No,
Was
no,
it
I
you?
wasn't. I wasn't
I think
there.
it
I
was
don't
Alan.
remember that one so well. Yeah.
Yeah, the NYPD RFP. You don't remember that?
I remember talking about it. I didn't do much with it. That was definitely a project that you were
Oh,
working on.
so then, yeah, I must have been kind of leading it. But yeah, that was there were a lot of details. We had to print out like duplicates and triplicates of everything, and everything was in color, and we had to bind it. And I was just like, that was exciting in the sense that like of what could be, like if we got that, like we could pay ourselves like $100,000 salaries. The fucking account, the budget was going to be so big. But anyway, no, I mean, if I had to pick, I would pick probably Greekster, man. It was just more authentically entrepreneur, and it was good time. I remember we laughed a lot. I remember laughing a lot,
Yeah.
and that's fun, man. When you get to go to work and you could fucking like really, like, how many times do you get to laugh at your job? I don't laugh at all at my current job, so.
Yeah. No, same. It's not like a joking matter. Like it's more of a, you got a job to do, you do it, and you move
Right,
on.
right. No, I have fond memories of Greekster, even though it didn't last that long. But I'm glad, I'm better for the experience, and I'm appreciative of it, and I'm blessed to have been able to do it for however long.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny because when I talk to my wife about the two experiences, I always call myself a failed entrepreneur. And she gets on me. She's like, "Why are you branding yourself that way? Why do you consider it that way?" Like, and I'm like, "Well, I'm comfortable enough with the fact that we tried. It's like we tried something and we built something, and even though we didn't succeed in a traditional context, like we failed, but you got to fail to win, right? You can't win by not failing. If we hadn't tried, like, plus we were successful entrepreneurs as well. We were acquired, so it's like
Yeah,
I can be both. You can be like,
that's the highest compliment, man. For your shit to be acquired. There's no higher compliment than that.
Yeah.
It means you're doing something so well that no one else, and instead of competing with you, you're like, all right, man, can we just buy you?
And in that case, we were outdoing them at that event. So it's like,
Right.
you can't build it. You join, you buy it.
Exactly. That's what the tech industry does. That's what companies do now.
Yeah.
That's why Amazon bought Whole Foods, because they didn't want to compete with Whole Foods. They just said,
I didn't
just
know
buy
that.
you, motherfuckers.
Did that happen a while ago, or is that
Yeah.
relatively?
Wow.
Oh,
Years.
I
That's like,
completely forgot they were an Amazon company. That's impressive. I didn't even that's good. But anyways, I think we can wrap there. I don't know if there's anything else we didn't cover about '06 or
for the episode.
Yeah. I think unless
the only thing I'll say was that huge learning experience. The good thing is that you're able to take away things for the future, like not in my case. I've never been presented with something similar, because my entrepreneurial genes have dissipated. Now all my energy is spent on my 7-year-old daughter, and it was a great learning experience. It was sad that I had to be fired from the company that you helped build, but I had that personality where I needed to learn the hard way. Like I wasn't going to have easy lessons taught to me. I needed to, I was very hard-headed at the time.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think of what else we can talk about from that moment, or that.
So what about I don't know if you want to mention our big 8th annual step show, which was like the month later after that. Like, how was that for you?
Yeah. So I mean,
not being there.
It was bittersweet, like the bitter side was that you weren't a part of it, even though I had still pulled you in, like on the side, to talk about different details, because it was the first show I was really in charge of by myself. And I mean, I had help. I wasn't by myself. Like Diana was there, and other people who had experience, but you weren't there. So, and you had been key to, obviously the venue coordination, the team's coordination. So it was twofold. So I had to be on because you weren't there, and now I had to kind of like almost like lead the charge. I don't recall I don't recall if I was positioned backstage for that show or front of house like I usually was.
You must have been backstage. I'm pretty sure you were backstage.
I want to say that, that's true. Oh my gosh, yeah. So at that show, something happened that oh man, I haven't talked about this. I haven't talked about this experience ever. Like, not to my wife, not to you, not to anyone. So this is like, it was a very humbling experience. So you'll recall that at many events where we were charged with the door, or where we were in a market by ourselves and we had to collect the revenue and then bring it back home, there were always like subtle jokes about us skimming from the count, like, how much did you skim? Like, I remember like, our business partners would ask us, how much did you skim? Thinking that we were like dishonest with the count, or and not to say that we did take money to pay for stuff. Like, if we were buying drinks for teams, like that would be our justification, if you will, of kind of like relationship.
We always had receipts. We had receipts for everything.
But we had receipts. And we legitimately weren't like buying iPhones for ourselves. We weren't doing things like that were outside of stuff we would do even in Greekster years. In Greekster years, we stayed the same. If we bought drinks, it was for a team. There was a purpose, so anyway. So at that event, the summer show, the first one where you're not there, Frank and Dave manned the ticket booth. I now remember, because they were at Columbia. And so like me being backstage, they were front of house, And so I come over towards the end of the show, once it's all done, I come over to them and I say to them, how much did you skim? Like joking, because they used to do that all the time to us. And also, given the that you were let go recently, there was some kind of like unresolved tension between me and them
Right.
two. And
Right.
and then what happens next was just like, it was humiliating to me. It's like Jessica Morales comes to the ticket area where the three of us are, right? And I had just said, how much did you skim to them, like joking. And then Jessica's, I forget what the complaint was. She had a huge complaint. They had just won the show. So they had won the show, but then she came over there because she knew we were there, and she wanted to let our bosses, kind of hear. And so I'm trying to remember the exact specifics of it, but basically, fast forward, what she was asking for was, because there's a ticket program we had where they were making money on ticket sales.
Yeah.
She asked a question that I typically would have easily fielded, like, here's the $20. Let's kind of move on. Because it wasn't a lot of money that she was reflecting on. And it was just like, look, take $20 and just move. Like, we don't need to argue about this stuff. And so I made that decision, which would have ordinarily, you and I would have just been like, whatever, keep it going. We avoid a fight. And then after she walks away, then Dave and Frank proceed to kind of like give it to me about making that call without their kind of like inputs on the spot. And
what, $20? The $20 that you're giving
it was literally $20. And in fairness, they weren't like being dicks about it. Like they were just giving me some subtle, like, it was almost like they were trying to guide me back onto the reservation, and like saying, like, we really need to talk about when these situations occur, like giving me kind of like a speech,
giving you a hard time. Stupid shit.
And in a respectful way. I don't want to like suggest like they were trying to teach me something, but like at that moment, like I didn't feel like they were the right people to teach me anything. So it was humiliating to me because they also made me look bad. I can't describe it so well, but like they made me look bad in front of Jessica Morales, who was a team member.
They said something with her there?
They said something while she was still there that almost was like, they're my boss.
Right.
I don't remember the exact word. I just remember feeling like totally like I can't believe you just said that to me. Like that's BS in my book. So
of course.
I wish I remembered it. I've repressed that memory so long ago, but like it's something I just recall that at that event, after they had let you go, that they had the nerve to kind of like try to teach me something.
Yeah.
And maybe I was just young and stubborn as well. So it's but the show went, it was smooth. We had a lot of people attend, not as much as prior events because we didn't have all the teams, but it was still a decent turnout, decent show. You had planned it mostly. So the characteristics of our events, the big trophies, everything was still intact. Right. And so I don't think anybody, lost a lot of sleep, or I don't think it was different from what people had experienced before. So.
Yeah. And then that's the last show that we do in New York. And then the following year, you guys do Beach Break, which I also had a part in helping set up, because we were planning it way in advance, like the summer.
Right.
I think that spring we had went searching for me, you, and it might have been Diana that went to Seaside.
Yeah, I remember you even coined the, or was it Diana? Well, we were together, and then we were thinking about what do we call this show, like because I know Batanga Beach Break. I think that came later, but we were talking about this is going to be Silk 6, so it's 6 on the beach, and then that name stuck. It was like fantastic, and it was just like, yes,
6 on the beach,
we got it. So without knowing, you gave us that final kind of like marketing campaign to like drive even the next year's event. So
6 on the beach. I didn't go to that one, but how was that attendance?
We'll talk about that in a future episode. But
all right.
That one was we had foam parties. We had a whole bunch of nonsense.
That sounds like a good thing. A foam party.
Was
that not good?
Calle 13 was there. You remember Residente and I forget the other guy's name, but Calle 13. They were at the show and they performed.
Did anyone even want, like, were people going to see them? Was anyone even going to see them?
It was more for the excitement factor. I know MTV Tres sponsored because of Calle 13 being there.
Which was not monetary. It was all what? They gave us a fucking banner ad on their website.
And a lot of gear. Like they came to the show with a lot of gear, like jackets.
Come on, man.
I still have some to
garbage.
this day. Yeah, no, I know, but it wasn't monetary, to your point. And they did ads. They did ads on their station, which I don't know how many people were watching MTV Tres.
Did you actually see an ad on?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I wish we still had a recording. You know, like there's got to be one somewhere of.
It's on the website. Shouldn't it be on YouTube?
You would think if MTV Tres is still a thing. I don't even know if their network still made it. You know, so rest in peace, MTV Tres. If you're no longer with us.
That's funny. To recap, when you get fired from the company that you start and that they acquire, you must have a ironclad employment agreement. If you need advice, come see us. Email us, greekster.tv@gmail. We will give you such great options as license your brand, or if you want to fire me for whatever reason, then you must pay me out, 10 years of my salary plus some stock options. But there's a plethora of things that you can ask for in your employment agreement, or you tell them to go fuck themselves if they want to buy you. That's the net of my key learnings, low-hanging fruit.
Holy cow, that's too much LACOM in one sentence. These are all things that became household names. You should have an episode just on the acronyms that we invented.
Yes, I said. I still use CCFL quite often.
I do too.
My wife knows what CCFL means too.
My wife knows CCFL. She doesn't like it at all, so I cannot use it around her anymore. Not even.
I can't use it. I can't use it anymore either, especially directed at her. That's a big no-no. Big no-no.
Timsy. There's so many. we had them all, man. We had pre-social, like pre-social media where you could have so many acronyms. Anyway, good stuff, man. Any other key learnings, low-hanging fruit? Help me understand.
Nah, man. I think that was it. Again, business is dirty. Someone will buy your company and then try to fire you a few years later. That will happen. People will skim from the top. People will, lie to your face. I mean, you can't trust anybody. So unfortunately, we live in a world where money, just like Wu-Tang said it best, man, cash rules everything around me. That's the fucking truth, man. Stock market, there's families that don't talk to each other over some fucking money, over some, inheritance money that they should have got, could have got. It's a grimy world out there, man. So that's it. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, cash rules everything around me.
2 frat boys. Thank you for watching.